Hello everyone, my name is Jen. I'm here today with Dr. Christina Malloy. She's a naturopathic doctor here at Helix. Hello Christina.
Hey Jen, how are you?
Good. So
Good.
today we're going to talk about the integrative healing treatment approaches that Dr. Malloy does here. So Christina, to start off, can you tell me a little bit about why you do what you do?
Yeah. Two beliefs really inspire my practice. The first is the belief that the mind and the body are intimately and inextricably connected. And the second is the belief that true health and wellness really come from treating and addressing the root cause of issues rather than just palliating symptoms. And so with Helix, I was so lucky to find a company whose values so closely align with my own. The mind-body connection is one of the founding tenets on which Helix was built. And when it comes to addressing the root cause, Helix is truly kind of revolutionary in the midst of a system that largely attempts to medicate away mental health symptoms with prescriptions while chastising people for self-medicating with non-prescription substances.
Right.
Helix is really challenging the status quo. We're kind of treating the fire where everyone else is focusing on the smoke.
Right. Okay, so you mentioned that mind-body connection, which is a term that kind of can be thrown around a lot. So maybe you can unpack that. You can tell me what you mean by the mind-body connection.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really good question. It is kind of one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around a lot and starts to lose its meaning. And yet it's such an important concept. I mean, it's something that's been debated as far back as ancient Greece and dualism. And back then there was this understanding that there was some sort of qualitative distinction between the mind and the body, that they were somehow different. They saw the body as being made of the physical, whereas the mind was a little bit more elusive. It was made of electrical signals and energy. And so the two kind of became divorced from each other. And when kind of ancient philosophy a lot of times informs the principles of modern medicine, that divide really only became perpetuated.
Right.
And it's one of the reasons why the standard treatment for anxiety is a pill that suppresses the nervous system, which is effective in the short term, but it's really missing the bigger picture. And I think the more that we learn about neuroscience, the more we understand that the mind and the body really can't be separated in this way, and they can't be treated in isolation. The mind is electrical, but its infrastructure is physical. Our brain literally sits in this soup of fluid, which exchanges signals with the rest of the body on a minute-by-minute basis. And so physical stressors, inflammation, chemical imbalances, they all have mental and emotional effects. And similarly, emotional traumas and negative thought patterns, they cause physical and hormonal and even neurological changes. And so when we're talking about the mind-body connection, I think we're really talking about being holistic, and holistic as in WHOLE, treating the whole person rather than just being people mechanics and dealing with parts. And in essence, that's really kind of what naturopathic medicine is all about.
Right. Okay, so then what role does naturopathic medicine actually play in treating mental health concerns?
Yeah. So if you think about the mind-body connection, both of those things, the mind and the body, they both exist in the physical realm and in the mental realm. And so there's the physical brain, and then there's conscious experience. And there's the physiology of the body, and there's somatic perception. And since the two are so intimately connected, whether a disruption starts in the mental realm or in the physical realm, it inevitably leads to imbalances downstream. And so anxiety is a great example. Anxiety leads to surges in hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which promote the production of inflammatory mediators. Those inflammatory mediators can cross the blood-brain barrier and cause neural inflammation. And we know that that's one of the things on a physiological level, that dampening of neurological firing is one of the things that causes depression.
Right.
And so that's just one example of how, to illustrate how intertwined those two systems are, and how mental health concerns can both cause and be caused by physical imbalances. And so naturopathic medicine really excels at working on that physical realm to repair and rebalance neurological, chemical, hormonal aspects of mental health concerns in order to stabilize the system and really facilitate the psychotherapy work that's being done on the mental realm.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things I love so much about the integrative approach that Helix takes is I think it really stems out of a respect for the mind-body connection. When you start from the understanding that the mind and the body are intimately connected, you realize that treating either in isolation really only addresses half of the whole.
Okay. So, which I imagine is kind of where you come in.
Yeah, so I work alongside clients, psychotherapists, to treat the physical piece of that puzzle while they work on the mental piece. And by taking that integrative approach and treating the whole person, we're able to achieve better results than either would on its own.
Okay, so when you're working with a client in the naturopathic work that you do, what does that process look like?
Yeah, I like to think of naturopathic medicine as combining the science of Western medicine and the wisdom of Eastern medicine. And so it's really evidence-based, but it's root cause focused. And so when I'm describing naturopathic medicine to clients, I tell them all the practical details. I went to medical school, I was trained in the sciences and pathology and diagnostics and lab work and all that kind of good left brain stuff.
Yeah.
But practically speaking, I think of it more as being a health detective. And so when I am dealing with clients, I'm really looking for patterns in their symptom picture that will point us to an underlying cause of that concern. So depression, for example, rather than simply giving every patient that comes through my door with depression an SSRI, I want to know what kind of depression it is, what else is going on. So is it depression with brain fog, which is often associated with systemic inflammation in the body? Is it depression with a lack of motivation or a lack of joy, which can tell us the difference as to whether it's a dopamine issue or whether it's a serotonin issue? Is it depression with fatigue, which could be a thyroid or a circulatory issue? Is it depression with insomnia, which is commonly caused by cortisol issues? Cortisol dysregulation is something we see all the time because it can result from prolonged stress or even a poor diet. And cortisol can actually cause atrophy in part of the brain that's associated with chronic depression.
Wow.
And yeah, so it really is a great example of how intertwined those systems are. And I mean, the reality is depression, anxiety, they're not diseases, they're symptoms. They're like a fever. They're just a sign that there's something else going wrong internally that needs to be addressed. And it's really my job to determine on the physical level what that is and then how we fix it.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that information with me today.
Thank you.
If you'd like to learn more, you can go online at helixhealthcaregroup.com. You can also reach us at 416-921-2273. Thank you, Dr. Malloy.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Have a good one.